Thanks for tuning in, guys, to Training Wild Burros with MaryJo Enfield. Today we're working with wild donkey Daphne, who's been with us for a little over a year now. If you're thinking about bringing home your first donkey, whether it's wild or domestic, we're going to do things the same. Here at Training Wild Burros, we train both domestic and wild donkeys. So whether you're thinking about having a companion, just a donkey for the fun of it, if you're thinking about riding them, packing them, or maybe even racing with them, driving with them, you're in the right place. Now, wild donkey Daphne has her own playlist. So if you want to see her journey from when we first brought her home to where she's at now, make sure you do click on that playlist so you can watch all of the videos and keep up to date with how she's doing. Here, my daughter is home and she's riding Daphne. So how much weight can a donkey carry? With a balanced rider, they can carry about a third of their weight. If you're packing them, it's good to stick to about 20% of their weight, because anything packed, it's not going to move or balance with whatever you're walking through. And that's why there's a difference for riding versus packing weight that they can carry. Now keep watching to the end, guys, because we're going to introduce a pack saddle to her for the first time. We like to use the over the saddle panniers just because that's what's fit well into our life so far. And this will be her first time wearing those. So one of the first things that we want when we're training them to ride is for them to stand still to mount. Now, in the very beginning of the video, Daphne stood just terrific to mount. And now she's saying, I think I want to move. So we're not going to get upset or beat on her or anything like that. We are just going to work her through it. Just help her work through, help her understand that it's all going to be good. We're going to respect her feelings. And maybe that's something different. With a donkey, at first I just worked with horses, right? But with a donkey, you really got to slow down and let them know that you see how they're feeling. This is the same for a mule, just like a donkey. Remember, a mule is half of a donkey, half of a horse. If your donkey is feeling a little bit nervous, we're going to slow down and let them know that we see how they're feeling. If they know that we're aware of everything around them, they're going to trust more. And we always want to be fostering that trust. This is her first time in the barn in like a year, so this is a kind of a new situation. Daphne's personality is that she's a little bit more nervous, but once she has that trust and that bond, she's going to do anything for you. She is one amazing donkey. I just adore her. Today she's having just a little refresher course about riding, just working on that steering. She is green broke right now, meaning that she has some riding, some saddle time in her, but not a ton of experience yet. And you'll notice that Hannah, she's not moving her legs hardly at all to get that forward movement. One thing that we're doing now with training the donkeys, we do kick them to get them to go there. She's kicking a little bit, but we don't use spurs at all for forward movement. We save spurs just for moving the four legs individually, but not for forward movement. For forward movement, we're going to use bumping with our legs or kicking, whatever you want to call it. The other thing that works well is using the tail end of your reins, or you could have a lead rope there and then use that to help create that forward movement if kicking or bumping with your legs is not working. Even with kicking for forward movement without the spurs, you start with your calf. First, you actually start with putting the reins forward a little bit, leaning forward. And then if they don't get those two cues, then you're going to squeeze with your calves. And if they don't get that cue, then you're going to bump with your calves or kick. And then as soon as they move, you let your legs be still. Don't ask them for more forward movement while they're walking. Wait for them to completely stop. If you're working on forward movement, wait for them to completely stop before you ask for them to move again. We don't want to create an animal that we have to nag to keep them going down the trail. When you're bridling your donkey or mule with those large ears that they have, we don't want to bend them when we're putting on the bridle. So it's important to loosen up the headstall or the bridle before you put it on. Try to avoid bending those ears so that we don't create an ear-shy animal. Now this is the first time, guys, that we've ever introduced a pannier to Wild Donkey Daphne. Now I hope you guys are all finding value with this, whether you're just enjoying watching the journey of this wild donkey, or maybe you're looking for some tips or ideas of what to do with your own donkey. I sure am glad that you're here with us to follow along with Daphne. And I would love it if you would hit that like and subscribe button. I'd love to hear your comments about your own journey or what you've been doing with your donkeys. We sure do have fun working and training with these guys. They are so much fun. Maybe you noticed that right now she's wearing a pannier with nothing in it. Well, this is how we're always going to introduce things the first time. I don't want to cause alarm when I'm training and teaching her new things. I don't want to make her fearful of what we're doing. So we're just kind of checking in. We put that pannier over her saddle. It's a beautiful kind of pannier. I'll put a link for it in the description. What I love about it is when we're out backcountry, we can ride in and then just tie that behind the saddle. And then when we need to use it for packing, then we would walk them wherever we're going and put the pack stuff in there. So if we're making camp, sometimes we pack up everything in there and then ride once we're backcountry. And we just walk them back to wherever our camp is going to be. So here, again, there's nothing in the pannier right now, and that's because we just want to check in to make sure she's okay with what we're doing. And then here in a few minutes, we'll start adding stuff into that pannier. Oh, Hannah has a box she's going to put on top of Daphne. Now, I've never done anything like this. I have put some cots that you fold in half on top of her back, but that was about a year ago. It was a very long time ago. So here being Hannah's letting Daphne just kind of smell and investigate that box. There's no reason just to jam it over there and scare her. She's already a little bit nervous about it. So we're not trying to cause any extra alarm. Go slow, advance and retreat. Remember, if they move their feet because they're that nervous, we went too fast. It's never the donkey's fault. If we make them move their feet, then we have gone too fast. This always is going back on us. So when you're working with a donkey, slow down. It was so much fun one day, guys. We brought Daphne and then Wild Mustang Frank to an obstacle course. And donkeys just need so much more time to absorb and think about the lesson. You know, you ask a donkey a question and they're going to get back to you in 7 to 10 days. So put your thinking cap on, be patient, and be ready to wait. They also say that it takes a donkey like an hour and a half to watch a 30-minute TV program. They just need that much more time to process. So working with a donkey, you're really going to test your patience. And there she has that big old box up on top of her back. She's never had anything like that on top of her back. The cot that I put up on her back was much smaller. Now we're filling up her panniers with sleeping pads. So there's no weight to that. They're all very light. But Daphne's just like, what are you doing? What is that? It smells funny. So we're just letting her investigate it. When you're working with a donkey, go slow, be patient. They're going to come around and they're going to trust, but it takes time. And if you wonder if you're always going to have to do everything so slow, the answer is no. My very first donkey, Seamus, used to be afraid of everything. I could work with him for hours and not get done what I was hoping to get done. And now there's nothing that he's afraid of. Even if we didn't ever work with that thing before, he's totally fine with it. So eventually your donkey is going to trust and they're not going to be fearful of anything. They have opinions. They have minds. They're not a four-wheeler. So we have to go slow at their pace, and we're going to create a friend for life. The bond will be the most amazing thing you've ever had. It's all worth the time and patience. They are so much fun to work with. I find it very entertaining that these wild donkeys are afraid of shadows. So watch her watch the ground. I don't remember that it stood out to me today when we were working with her, but when I was working with today in the same barn here, I was watching the shadows. So if you ever notice that all of a sudden you're walking along, you're on the trail and everything's going great, and then all of a sudden your donkey is nervous, it could just be the shadow on the ground, especially with these wild donkeys. Maybe they really did have to run from mountain lions to stay alive. We don't know what they went through, but they know that things hide in the shadows. It could be a snake or a mountain lion. Who knows what they're afraid of that live in the shadows? But again, this stuff it'll pass over time as they learn to trust, as they learn to be domestic. She was a wild animal. She was captured when she was 7 or 8 years old. She's 10 now. She might be 11 now. I have to double check. But nonetheless, she lived for a long time in the wild. She was the survivor in the wild. So there's a reason she's afraid of shadows. And we might think it's funny, at least I do. But it's actually logical. There's a reason she's afraid of the shadows. And she's proving me wrong right now. She doesn't seem to care about the shadows. But Aw does. The other wild donkey that I have here that I'm keeping for myself as an ambassador animal. As an ambassador donkey. So now Daphne is fully loaded with all that stuff in there. Not weight, guys, but she already knows how to carry weight. So it's not weight. It's just that big and bulky. It feels different. And she's just fine. Now, if we're actually backcountry, this would actually get tied around her also so that it doesn't slip. And if you are packing, you got to have the same weight on each side. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you find value with this video with training your own donkeys or just following along with the journey with wild donkey Daphne. Have a super day and thanks for watching.